Session 3B is Conflict Management Strategies, which is part of Session 3, Conflict Management and Resolution. By the end of this session, you will be able to consider conflict management strategies and dimensions. There's a couple of readings for this session. You can see them here in the list, but also go back to your course profile document to see some other readings. Conflict management requires an understanding of the unique nature of conflict in a family business. Now, organizational behavior researchers have an extensive literature about conflict management, such as Thompson 1990, Tusfeld 1991, Wall and Callister 1995. Now, the dominant conflict management models in this literature are similar two-dimensional models. The model that I'm looking at from here on is the Thomas and Kilman model, which is 1974. It is basically based on two concerns, a concern for self and a concern for others. And there's 5 conflict management styles, and that is based on competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. And you'll see here on the slide that in each of the 5 conflict handling styles, there's different levels of concern for self and concern for others. Diagrammatically, we have here those 5 conflict handling styles. In the middle, you have a medium concern for self and a medium concern for others. And this is the compromising approach. Then you have an avoiding strategy, and the image there is somebody running away. So it's low concern for self and low concern for others. You just don't want to deal and handle it. When we have a higher concern for others and a lesser concern for yourself, that is accommodating, and this is also deemed the friendly helper as well. You, in a sense, accommodate or sacrifice some of your concern for yourself in order for others to actually have greater cooperation within the conflict. Correspondingly, we have a high concern for self, but a low concern for others. And this is the tough battler, the competitive aspect. And then we have, which is a little bit of a win-win, where there's a high concern for self and for others of collaborating, and also deemed the problem solver. So we're going to look at each of these 5 conflict handling approaches in more detail. Avoiding means that the source of conflict is ignored. It's not addressed. Avoiding does help alleviate conflict because individuals recognize potential sources of conflict and attempt to delay dealing with the conflict and its consequences. Avoiding can be, to an extent, beneficial to team performance, and this is according to De Drew and Van Vian, 2001. Because team members choose to avoid addressing maybe minor or inconsequential disagreements that, if discussed, could actually detract from the task at hand or escalate into a more serious form or level of conflict. At the team level, De Drew et al. 2001 say that avoiding can actually improve perceptions of performance. But this research does not accurately reflect a family business setting. Non-family business teams often dissolve after a period of time, and thus conflict can be forestalled into an indefinite but short future. Family business members experience conflict differently due to the unique nature of family relationships and business demands. So according to Kellermans and Edelson 2006, an avoiding strategy is more difficult to achieve as family business members are likely to be in contact with each other throughout both their business and personal lives. In this context, an avoiding strategy may result in discontent and grudges among family members that eventually escalates to a more serious level of conflict. Avoidance in family firms is associated with low-level satisfaction, high sibling rivalry, and low mutual trust. Thus, although avoiding may have some utility for teams, it is not an ideal conflict management strategy for family businesses. So using avoidance strategy in a family firm, although it prevents direct face-to-face confrontations, avoidance may result in escalated frustrations that spill over in other ways. For example, family members may avoid discussing conflicts at work, but vent their feelings with spouses, adding to overall negative feelings within the family. When individuals need time to cool down, or when an issue is just not important, avoidance may be an effective strategy. However, avoidance certainly is not a relationship building strategy. Too much avoidance leaves important business and family issues unresolved, which tends to heighten tension and limit achievement. Thus, avoidance should contribute neither to positive business nor to positive family outcomes. Competing, which is also referred to as contending, is a form of conflict management that results when an individual forces their initiatives and ideas into action. And this is based on Drew and Van Vian 2001's research, and they say that the individual has little concern for others. As a response to relationship conflict, this individualistic strategy causes tension and can induce negative effect and also damage family relationships. Sorensen 1999 was also of this opinion that Kellermans and Edelson 2006 proposed. Similarly, contending can have undesired outcomes in situations of cognitive and process conflict. So contending may involve threats or forced compliance and can be used to promote personal agendas, which is something that Sorensen found in research in 1999. And this can actually decrease the diversity of ideas, potential strategic choices, and decision quality. According to Kellermans and Edelson 2006, they found that contending escalates relationship conflicts and lowers decision quality, both of which can impede firm performance and also leads to anger and mistrust, making it a suboptimal strategy for resolving family conflict. Most family businesses use owner authority to settle disputes, and this has been found by Dean 1992 and Dyer 1986. The conflict style most compatible with authority is competition. Similar to autocratic authority, competition imposes or forces solutions, and this was found by Rame 1983. Competition is often based only on the concerns of the competitor. It does not take into account others' concerns. If the conflict involves the owner, it will likely be resolved to the owner's satisfaction. Thus, in resolving conflict, competition is not likely to fully address the main issues of business and family. Furthermore, competition is associated with a negative effect. because a competitor blocks others from achieving their goals, and he or she generates negative emotions such as anger and stress. Collaborating involves individuals working together and sharing ideas to come up with a mutually agreed upon solution that addresses the concerns of all involved parties. And this is according to De Drew et al. 2001. Now, collaborating can lead to mutually acceptable solutions in the short term and may also reduce the occurrence of conflicts in the future. Collaborating creates a cooperative environment that can meet the interests of all parties involved. According to Kellermans and Edelson 2006, collaborating in situations of relationship conflict can actually increase cooperation and commitment. Both Sorensen 1999 and De Drew et al. 2006 have found that actually in instances of cognitive and process conflict, collaborating encourages teamwork and organizational learning and improves decision-making quality and overall performance for the firm. Sorensen 1999 states that of the conflict management strategies presented so far, collaborating has the potential to create the best outcome for family businesses by focusing on the common short and long-term goals and the ability to achieve transgenerational sustainability of the business. So what about using collaboration strategies in a family business? It is an approach that does attempt to fully satisfy the concerns of all parties involved. Like the accommodation strategy, collaboration indicates a willingness to adapt. However, unlike the accommodation strategy, collaboration is not a yielding to others concern, but an active search for a win-win solution. However, collaboration does require time and effort on the part of both participants. It also requires good interpersonal skills, including open communication, trust, and mutual support. And this was supported in Seymour's 1993 paper. Undoubtedly, collaboration does contribute to desirable family outcomes, including positive relationships and cohesion. Dyer 1986 actually says that because it requires mutual sharing and openness, it is more likely than accommodation to promote organizational learning and adaptation that should enhance business performance. Thus, overall, collaboration should significantly contribute both to family and to business outcomes. Compromising results from trying to find a resolution that at least partially appeases all parties involved. According to Kellermans and Edelson 2006 and Merningham and Conlon 1991, compromising may create a temporary solution, but actually does not create a long-term solution to the conflict. According to Sorensen 1999, some amount of give and take can be beneficial to the interaction and operations of the family firm. But compromising can also limit the discussion of new ideas and decreases the likelihood of finding the best possible solution. Sorensen 1999 continues by saying that in response to relationship conflict, compromising can be a useful way to maintain family relationships, as there can be performance benefits to compromising in relationship conflicts. However, using a compromising strategy to manage
cognitive and process conflict may lead to performance decreases for family firms because the goal is satisfying rather than selecting the optimal outcome. As such, compromising may preserve family relationships in the short run, but it is unlikely to improve firm performance in the long run.
Compromise in a family business involves each party giving in to the other to find an acceptable solution. Because something is given up, no one fully feels satisfied. Compared to collaboration, which is highly integrative, compromise is relatively disruptive. It has the flavour of giving in to keep the peace. However, collaboration demonstrates a willingness to adapt for the greater good. It may contribute to achieving desired business and family outcomes, but not to the same extent as collaboration. Accommodate is the next style, and this is about putting the other party's needs before one's own. You allow them to win and get their way. Accommodation is for situations where you don't care as strongly about the issue as the other person. If prolonging the conflict is not worth your time, or if you think you might be wrong. This option is about keeping the peace, not putting in more effort than the issue is worth, and knowing when to pick battles. While it might seem somewhat weak, accommodation can be the absolute best choice to resolve a small conflict and move on with more important issues. This style is highly cooperative on the part of the resolver, but can lead to resentment. Using accommodating strategy in a family business is actually infrequently used by family businesses. Accommodating is the opposite of competition, and it is actually based on high concern for others and low concern for self. It ascertains others' desires and resolves them while neglecting personal desires. Since disruptants tend to replicate the style employed by the other party in a conflict, accommodation may establish a conciliatory tone and a willingness to get along. Accommodation demonstrates supportiveness and acknowledgement of others' concerns, and it should contribute to actually good relationships and cohesiveness. Assuming that all parties accommodate in a family business, conflict may be resolved to everyone's satisfaction. However, too strong a norm of accommodation may prevent some from asserting themselves, even on important issues. Therefore, a highly accommodative owner may sacrifice business success to satisfy family or employees. Third-party intervention differs from the conflict management strategies that we've just discussed, in that avoiding, contending, or competing, compromising, and collaborating all involve the direct participation of those involved in the conflict. With third-party intervention, parties outside the conflict are introduced in an effort to mediate or resolve the conflict when those involved are unable or unwilling to do so themselves. In a family firm, third-party interventions may be particularly useful since they provide an opportunity to introduce a neutral outsider who can offer a fresh perspective from outside of the family. The benefit of third-party intervention is that through mediation or arbitration, the intent is to resolve the conflict rather than find a temporary fix for it. Furthermore, bringing in another party to intervene can, through the course of resolving the conflict, improve family member communication and interactions. As a conflict management strategy, third-party intervention can also positively influence family business performance through the resolution of conflicts and improved communication of family and business members. The next session is session 3C, and we're going to be looking at some conflict resolution techniques.